Hello world, welcome to Fulani Scientist channel, and today I'm going to talk about a little bit about why science is so cool. And so the first thing I want to talk about is the Nobel Prize. The Nobel Prize is the highest achievement a scientist can earn or be awarded for their contribution to the scientific world, discovering something really cool that will help save many lives. For example, the scientist who developed the vaccine got a Nobel Prize. Many of you may know Albert Einstein for his scientific contributions to the world of physics and the theory of relativity. So scientists and many people across this spectrum of topics or categories can win a Nobel Prize. And to do this, they have to according to Alfred Nobel, who actually bequeathed his wealth to these recipients, is to those who during the preceding year shall have conferred the greatest benefit on mankind. So people like Gandhi, Mother Teresa, Nelson Mandela, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and Dr. Jennifer Doudna and Dr. Barbara McClinton, scientists. They've all contributed the greatest benefit to humanity. And so the Nobel Prize is specifically set in these specific categories. In science, we have physics, chemistry, physiology and medicine, we have literature, we have economics. And so there are categories, and peace also is a huge category. So there are Nobel laureate for peace, conferring peace and sharing their greatest wisdom and their greatest contributions to humanity. And I work at the NIH, actually. I am a scientist there, and I often visit the NIH Visitor Center, even though I'm not a visitor, I am an employee. I love walking through the exhibit hall, seeing the Nobel laureates and their contributions, and they have these huge photos of the individuals who actually contributed to these discoveries. So it's a team. It's a whole team, but most of the time, 3 or 4 people become the face of that discovery. So it takes a lot of work and a lot of effort. And so Alfred Nobel was Swedish. He was a Swedish physicist. This is a photo of him, Alfred Nobel. He was a Swedish physicist and a lot of other things, but he became extremely wealthy and famous for his the invention and manufacturing of dynamite. So if you enjoy 4th of July fireworks, then think Alfred Nobel. Thank you, kind sir. And unfortunately, that's also the same chemical reagent, same product that we use for explosives like bombs so the discoveries can be used for good or bad, depending on how you see it. So that's Alfred Nobel, and hence the Nobel Prize, named after the guy who actually decided to leave this gift to the world. And so walking through the NIH Nobel Laureate exhibit hall, you can see photos of Nobel Prize laureate and their contributions and their names. And so it's really cool going through grad school, reading about some of these discoveries. And in later videos, I'll show you how they actually did that using things like model organisms and really awesome scientific tools and inventions. And so our laboratory is the world, but you can learn about what's been done and how it's been done, and we can discover, unanswered questions. And so science is really cool. It's really interesting to me, and I think about it every day. I breathe, think, sleep, and eat academic research and science. And so this is very non-diverse list of Nobel laureate scientists, but that's about to change. I'm pretty optimistic about that. So the NIH is a huge supporter of biomedical research. It's the National Institute of Health. It's the biggest and the most prestigious research institute in the world. And so ending up here, working here, and working in one of the best branches, the National Cancer Institute, was a dream come true. I was in the elevator a couple of weeks ago, and a guy saw me wearing my NIH sweater. It's really cold, and I'm from a tropical country, so I tend to bundle up. And he says, "Wow, NIH. Wow, how did you get there?" And I said, "Oh, I had to earn my PhD, and then I applied for a job." He said, "Yeah. But how did you get in?" And I just paused and said, "God," and walked out the elevator and went to work. And so there's a reason why there's less diversity in these exhibit halls. And one of those reasons is because, well, there are many reasons, but we'll get into that in later videos. So the previous slide, we noticed there's lack of diversity. There's mostly white men. However, I'm very proud to share this slide with all the name of the Black Peace Nobel Prize winners in the history of Nobel Prize winners. And these are John Albert Luthili, and he was the first Black African American to win a Nobel Prize. Oh, first Black African, correction, to win the Nobel Prize. And then Dr. Martin Luther King, we know civil rights movement, nonviolence, and he was the youngest to win this. And then we have Desmond Tutu, who was also a Nobel Peace Prize recipient, and Nelson Mandela. Many of you know Nelson Mandela, the Walk to Freedom, South Africa. So these names are well known in many communities, and not just science. And so what about Black science Nobel Prize winners? Do we have any? And the answer is going to shock you. The answer is no. We have yet to have a Nobel Prize recipient for science. And I'm going to take the pledge and say, I volunteer. I'll do it. I'll be the pioneer. I'll lead the way. Someone has to be first. And so no Black scientist has ever won a Nobel Prize in science. So there are Nobel Prize laureate in literature and the Peace Prize. But in science, so far, we have zilch, zero. And I saw this post online, and it captured my sentiments exactly. It said, no Black scientist has ever won a Nobel. That's bad for science and bad for society. We live in a very diverse world, and we're becoming more and more of a melting pot. And so who is going to be the first Black scientist to win the Nobel Prize? I'll do it. And so how am I going to do it? I have very, very, very powerful and important people. These are my heroes, people who I look up to. Even though they're not physically in the world, they're still here. Their message is still here. Their words, their wisdom is still here. On the personal side, peace and humanity, I look towards Mother Teresa and Nelson Mandela and Desmond Tutu. And in the scientific community, I look towards people's work from Barbara McClintock. I'll talk about her later in future videos. I look towards people like Jennifer Doudna, female scientists. These are all women scientists with PhDs and Nobel laureates. And I look toward Albert Einstein. Every child or every person you ask about, what does a scientist look like? They immediately imagine Albert Einstein with his impressive and imaginative hair. And so these are people who conferred the greatest benefit to humanity, and they did that through hard work, diligence, and passion. And they did it with others. They did it with the help of others. So not all of us can do great things. Some of us are born geniuses, and some of us are sleeping geniuses, but we have to be awakened to our genius and apply that genius to confer the greatest benefit to the world. And others can do small things with great love. I fall in that category. I will do everything with love. I come to work and I have phrases that says love is work is love made visible. So I love my work. I love my job. I love what I do. I'll tell you more about that in later videos. And I look towards teachings and lessons from Nelson Mandela, where he says, the greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but rising every time we fall. That is such a great lesson. It just means what my mother's always taught me. Never give up. Never give up. Whenever there's an obstacle, view it like a lesson and get back up and learn from there and move on. And so I really, really, really admire these individuals. They were such incredible human beings. And then this is another quote I really, really, really like by John D. Rockefeller. He says, I was early taught to work as well as play. My life has been one long, happy holiday, full of work, full of play. I dropped the worry on the way, and God was good to me every day. I just love that. And so I work hard, I play hard, and I know everything is going to work out. My mother and I literally walked through the valley of death, and we made it. And so the sky is the limit. I have to do something with that. There's a reason why I'm here. And so I have a collection of books that I'm really extremely passionate about. And if any of you are familiar with these books, Think and Grow Rich by Dennis Kimbro and Napoleon Hill, I actually have a Dennis Kimbro book about daily meditation. So every morning, let me see if I have it. Yes, I do. It's Daily Motivations for African American Success. So every day you select a day. So today is February 7th. And I just read what it says on February 7th. And I try to follow that. So Dr. Kimbro, thank you, thank you, thank you. You are a genius. And you have no idea how many lives you've impacted in such a positive way. And then my favorite book of all time, The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. And there are about 27 topics. And so you open the book. I've actually taken a copy of it. It's so worn out because I read it once a year. And so on 27 topics, you go to, so today maybe I want to talk about beauty. I go to page 77 and the subject on beauty, and I read about that, or love, or friendship. And one of my favorite phrases on there is about friendship, which is a friend is a prayer answered. So whenever you're in need, you know, a friend shows up and all of a sudden, whatever you were worried about, whatever you were thinking about, they help solve it, they help make it better. And so I love this guy's masterpiece. It never fails. And this book was given to me by one of my favorite people on the planet. And I get to talk about him later on in my YouTube channel. And the last book on here is a doozy. It is an audiobook. I actually do not have a physical copy of it. I listened to it at least 20 times since I discovered it. It's 18 hours and 4 minutes long. And so I would dedicate at least a week or a month to listen to it attentively. And it's called The Last Hours of Ancient Sunlight by Tom Hartman. This book covers, I believe, everything from science, spirituality, and future. Like if you like sci-fi movies and things like that, this book is for you. And a lot about history, human history, how we got to where we are right now. And most importantly, it's about how we can save the environment, how we can protect the environment, and how we can make the fate of the world not be a doomsday, like the looming sixth extinction that we hear about often due to global warming and environmental erosions and things like that. So these 3 books are my go-to. And I'm happy to share more detail, go in depth in each one, depending on my audience preferences. Or if you have never seen them or heard of them, check them out. If you want, you could do audio books on YouTube, or you can go to a physical library. There's nothing more than having a physical book and just spending time with that book. And actually, when you're reading and you're moving along with the words, you remember things better. Some people are textile learners, so you learn by touch. Some are audio, so you learn by hearing. And some are visual learners, they learn by seeing. So depending on what kind of learner you are, you can get a lot of great things out of these videos and these books and these topics that I'll share with you as we go along. So thank you. Have a blessed day.